again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 4th day of April in the year 2023. For some reason, I thought we were still in March when I put the titles together today. So this is actually for the April 5th edition, not the March 5th edition of The Observer. I apologize to you for that. Sometimes I just can't keep up with the dates because they go so fast, really, when you think about it. It's impossible to believe. It's 72 degrees right now on April 4th. A beautiful, beautiful day. We got so lucky this year that we didn't get much of a winter in this neck of the woods. I know not everybody feels that way, especially people who live to the north and west of this part of the country, or this part of the state. But, sometimes it just happens. You just can't, for some reason, I'll just choke it off to having had a small stroke that I forgot what the date was. At any rate, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me as you do every week on Tuesday. Sean McDonald is here reminding me about the calendar. Yeah, thank you. 48, it happens when you get to this age. And Kenny Evans, who is also here with us, watching both probably in Kearney. But as you do every week, you welcome me into your homes, which is a gift in and of itself. But before we get to the news this week, I have something personal to talk about today, and that's because something is going on with an old friend of mine, and his name is Tony Azzarto, and he is a Jesuit priest who has been at St. Peter's Prep since, I don't even know how long it's been. I know his first year as a scholastic was 1963, but he's been around the Jesuits since he was a kid himself back at Brooklyn Prep in the 1950s. And yesterday morning, I got word from Stephen Thiel of the Thiel Funeral Home that Tony is entering hospice care at Murray Weigel Hall in the Bronx, which is where Jesuits go when they are infirmed. And I guess what came as such a surprise is that Tony has been active even since he retired about 4 or 5 years ago, and has always been at events and you name it, to this very, very day. He's been everywhere. And I welcome in my good friend and classmate Teddy Giblin, who is watching us too today. Teddy and I are classmates from the class of 1992, and we both met Tony in September of 1988. Maybe it was even before that. Who knows? That maybe we did for whatever the reason. And when I think about this, I almost think it's selfish to say it in a way, but when I think of this man, Tony Azzarto, who was the chaplain at St. Peter's Prep for so long, I always think of him as being alive and full of so much energy, and that it is almost impossible to think that he has come to the point where he has entered hospice care and will live out his final days in peace and in comfort, because he was an invincible human being in the minds of so many of us who for so many years took for granted that no matter what we did, whether it was while we were in high school or as we got older, when people were getting married and people were getting baptized, that Tony would be there. He would be there to answer the phone. He would be there to answer emails. He would be there to listen to stories about divorce, losing a relative, losing a child. There have been so many tragedies that he has lived through. And every time they happened, he was there. And the reason that this is all, I guess, so much of a surprise, even though everybody is invincible, obviously, is that he lived his life from the day he entered the Jesuits in 1956 to this very day, exemplifying what the great Jesuit Pedro Arrupe taught us all to be when we were students, and that is men and women for others. Some of you who watch this program on a regular basis are probably tired of hearing that term because I bring it up so often. But That's what we were told and what we were taught, and what we do and we live out our daily lives. We try our hardest to be men and women for others. But when you talk about Tony, Tony was and is the greatest example of this, because everything he did it for other people. He never did anything for getting glory. He never did anything for recognition. In fact, when we would give him any kind of recognition, he would always just say, "God, no, just don't go there." He never wanted to be in the limelight. But instead, when we were in high school, he was at every athletic event possible, whether it was football, basketball, hockey, baseball, swimming, the more obscure ones, the sports where nobody goes to the games, he was there. He always wanted to be there to support the people who were students at St. Peter's at that time. And a couple of times during his career, the Jesuits made the boneheaded decision to pull him out of St. Peter's, and they sent him to Nigeria from 1980 to 1985, and they sent him to Nigeria again in the early 2000s. And I know he probably went with great enthusiasm, and he ministered to the people of Benin City, Nigeria, beautifully, where there were 4,000 people sometimes at liturgies. Could you imagine that? And they danced in the aisles, and they loved him. But the great work he did was in downtown Jersey City on a daily basis. I can think of a couple of personal stories. You know, Tony ran a retreat program at St. Peter's, one that all of us who went there pretty much took part in. And in 1999, I put that program together with him for the students at St. Anthony's. We called it Kogo. And then at Oratory Prep, it was called Emmaus, but we called it Amos when we were students. It was just a pronunciation thing. I don't know why we always called it something different. But when I started that program in 1999, I always needed a priest to come and say Mass, because we didn't really have any priests on the staff or anything. And whenever I asked him to come up, and this would be on a Saturday or a Sunday, he would come up. He wouldn't take a penny. He asked for a slice of pizza and a cookie. And just to give you an example of how simple he was, there were times that he would show up in Mount Arlington at the retreat center in a school bus. Because that was the only vehicle that was available for the Jesuit communities, because they don't own their own cars. They have community cars, and there were times where he would come up in a school bus. But he would do it, and he never complained. We never asked for anything in return but a cookie, a slice of pizza, and doing good things for other people. And that's because in his lifetime, that's all he ever did. That's all he ever wanted to do. And he did it for so many years. And now he comes down to the twilight of his life, where the days will be numbered. And when that final day does come, it will be very, very hard to imagine life without him. And I think about all the thousands of alumni who have known him over the years and who have been with him along the way. It's going to be a very, very somber occasion, but a joyous occasion, too, because he is not the type of person that would want us to be sad. He would want us to remember the incredible memories that he gave us, even though he would probably say he didn't do anything. That's how humble he was. He never wore, or very rarely wore, his Roman collar. He wore plain, regular clothes every single day as a sign of his poverty, too. And that's who he was. And to know that soon he won't be with us anymore is a tough pill to swallow. But all of us who knew him and people who knew of him and never met him know what an incredible, incredible human being he was, and how his loss is one for the ages. And life will never be the same again without him. It just never will be the same. My fellow alum, Sean McDonald, said, "I pray that Tony's final days are filled with peace, love, and comfort. All things he gave unselfishly for so long to so many. His legacy and impact are indisputable. I am a better man for knowing him." And that sums it up. Everything he did was for other people, never for himself. And now he gets to sail off peacefully. He got to see the Dodgers win a World Series, which is also a wonderful thing. And last year he was inducted into the Legends of Prep Society, I guess you would call it. And that was something I didn't think he would ever see while he was alive, because he always was nominated but would say, no, pick somebody else. But he finally relented and was part of the class last year, and that's exactly where he belongs, and where he will forever shine as an example to all of us who knew him. And to those who never had a chance to meet him, you missed out on a gem, because there was never anybody like him before. And I don't hesitate to say there will never be another like him in the future. So our love to Tony and to his family who remain in these final days in the Bronx. We will miss you more than words can say. It is 43 minutes past the hour. Kevin Canessa here with you on the Observer Live. A few words about Tony Azzarto. If you don't know who he is, there's some videos out on him. Check him on YouTube, and you'll just see what a selfless man he was, and how he just did everything for other people. And I hope some of you will check that out. So we have some other things to get to today that are not about Tony. And interestingly enough, one of the main stories this week is about Holy Week, because we have arrived at Holy Week. Today is Tuesday of Holy Week, and there is a massive chrism at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark tonight, where the holy oils are blessed and brought back to every parish of the Archdiocese and in all the dioceses of America. And Melanie Ryan is here. So I think that's a good sign, Mel, that you're here. That's all I'm going to say right now, but I'm very, very glad to see that Melanie Ryan is here with us on the broadcast today, watching on her phone, no doubt. But it is Holy Week, and, of course, culminates with Easter Sunday on Sunday. And Cardinal Tobin's got a very, very busy week this week. I don't know how they get priests earn all their money during Holy Week. So it's going to be a big week for everybody in the Archdiocese of Newark and all the dioceses of America. Again, culminating with Easter on Sunday. And one of the other big stories this week was that the town of Kearney settled on its ambulance contract with Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health. So I hope you'll check that out, because there were two offers, two bids that were in. One was for the Kearney Fire Department. The other was for Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health. The contracts couldn't have been more diametrically opposed, and the town chose Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health. So it's kind of ironic that Melanie would show up right here, because this is one of her peeve topics. But check that out. It's on the front page, and learn all about what the ambulance service will be like for more than likely the next 5 years in the town of Kearney. So everything is right there in black and white for you to read. But if you have any questions about it that need to be answered, please contact Melanie. She will be able to give you some good information on that. Did you know that Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix were supposedly in Belleville last week? They are filming a sequel to The Joker, and they made that old asylum-looking hospital into a virtual hospital. And the two of them were in town, and there was a whole bunch of filming going on in Belleville. So Ron has a story about that, And I hope you'll check that out too, because there were some great special effects that took place. They had a fire in this building, and Anthony Iacono, who is the business administrator for the Township of Belleville, took some great photos. We have one of them in this week's edition. I hope you'll check that out when you get a chance. Now, this is something important that I need to talk to all of you about, and it is about Project Graduation, because the fundraiser for Project Graduation is coming up very, very soon. In fact, it's in this week's paper, and I hope you'll check that out, because it's the biggest fundraiser of the year for Project Graduation, and they're having this volleyball tournament as they have in the past. And they need to raise a good chunk of money, because every year the volleyball tournament is the largest fundraiser of the year for the kids. And it is not cheap to put on an event that lasts for as long as it does. It starts right after graduation on Graduation Friday and lasts till about 5 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning thereafter. And it's June 23rd that it begins this year. And the whole purpose of it is to keep the kids who are graduating from danger, and to keep them from drinking and doing drugs or anything stupid on graduation night. Because as everybody out there knows, on graduation night, there's always a tragic story about a crash, a kid getting killed. There's always these terrible stories of things that happen during the course of graduation nights. But for about 20 years ago, Project Graduation was put together, and this wonderful program every year of countless volunteers give the kids a night of food, entertainment, and just outright fun in a safe environment where they know the kids will return home at 6 o'clock in the morning the next day. Because this is a vital part of our community. And I understand it's about $50,000 a year to put the whole event together. And there's not anywhere near $50,000 in the Treasury. And it would be a shame, because that's the only way they make the money. There's no taxpayer money. There is no donation. Well, there can be donations from anybody, but there's no money from the school board or from the town council or anything like that. This is all done by fundraising. And one of the biggest events of the year is the upcoming volleyball tournament. And not only do you get to have a night out, but you also get a chance to see the cops play the firefighters. Certain teams of kids will play each other. The town workers will be involved. The school board, teachers will be involved. It's a fun, entertaining night, and you get to see, as Melanie has told me every year, you get to see some people who you probably wouldn't get to see during the course of a year. And of late, there wasn't a Project Graduation volleyball tournament last year, and then there was COVID the year before that. Some people may not have seen each other for a long time, so please consider it. It's an extremely worthy cause. All of the money goes to feeding the kids and entertaining them on Project Graduation night, again, which is June 23rd. From the time the school day graduation ends, they're bussed off into a location that nobody knows about. It's kept private for obvious reasons, because you don't want people showing up uninvited. And it's only $5 to get into the volleyball tournament. What more could you ask for? And there will be food on sale as well, so there'll be, you'll be able to eat. You won't go hungry. And check out all the details in this week's edition of The Observer. They're all inside this week's edition, including all the matchups and what teams are playing each other and things of that nature. So just take a look at the paper this week, and you'll see all the details there. But please give it a chance. And, one other thing, too. There will be tickets available. There'll be certain raffles and 50-50s, and then the Super 50-50, which always nets a good amount of money to the winner. So I already got my tickets. They're $5 a piece, I think $50 for a book. Melanie, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe it's $5 per ticket, $50 for a book at 10, and the half of the proceeds go to the kids for that too. So please give it a shot this year if you haven't yet. And of course, as we do every week, we have 2 pages of classifieds, so be sure to check them out if you're looking for a place to rent or if you have a job that you're looking for or one to rent. Jason Bernstein also has 3 pages of sports this week. And as we get into next week, I just want to remind everybody we are going to have a short week next week. We're only going to be open Tuesday through Friday, so we're not going to be here on Monday. So all of our deadlines are kind of moved up by a day. So if you think of it, especially if you need a classified, be sure to let us know early so that we can get that taken care of. The deadline is 2 o'clock on Friday this week as we head into Easter. And to all of our friends who celebrate Passover and Easter, we wish you all a very, very happy Passover and a joyous Passover and a blessed and beautiful Easter. It looks like the weather is going to cooperate, and it will be a very, very nice weekend for everybody to enjoy. That'll do it for this edition of The Observer Live. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me as you do every week. Special thanks to Sean McDonald, Kenny Evans, Teddy Giblin, Melanie Ryan, and to everybody who is here and may not have said anything. And don't forget, to find the Easter eggs. They're in the paper. There's 6 of them. You may not see them all, but they're there. So make sure you do that and get the results into us. We said to get them to us by Monday the 10th, but, just drop them off in the mailbox since we're not going to be here, okay? From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, Canessa signing off for now. We'll see you back here again very, very soon. Take care, everybody.